Cornel West was on the Katie Halper show and went on there to announce, well, I don't know if they're exclusively, but it does seem that she was, made aware of it, to announce in part that, and it's not clear to me whether they're talking about a united front. I frankly don't know if there's anybody other than a couple of people at the top of the People's Party's movement. People's Party. It's not really a party. It's not even registered as one. And I think he must have found that out and has decided to run with the Green Party, which makes a lot more sense, at least from his perspective. Here is Katie Halper with Dr. Cornel West.
I wanted to ask you, of course, about your presidential run. And there's some exciting news, I believe. So last week, Chris Hedges, friend of the show, Chris Hedges, said during an event for Worker Strike Back, which was organized by Kshama Sawant, he said that he wanted you to run as a Green Party candidate. And you, of course, when you announced you were with the Movement for the People's Party, the MPP. Do you have an update about this?
Oh, yes. No, that process is very much in movement, and I look forward to it. I'll always have gratitude for the tremendous work of the volunteers of the People's Party and so forth. But there was so much going on internally, and therefore we had to be able to keep the focus where it belongs. And so I am still deeply committed to a broad coalitional sensibility and a united front. And so I invite a variety of different organizations, and that includes the People's Party. But I'm certainly moving in the, not just toward, but want to look forward to being a part of the nomination process of the Green Party. And I look forward to being able to already be in very rich conversation with my dear brother Barack and my dear sister Stein, Sister Jill, and brother Ajambo, who I have great love and respect for. So that's true. That is new, and which means when it comes to infrastructure and institution, it's much broader and deeper. Access to the ballot, much broader. But in the end, as you know, any candidacy to run the empire in order to dismantle the empire has to be part of a movement.
I think without assessing or litigating the question of whether this is a time for him to run as a third party candidate, it makes a lot more sense to run with a party that has at least some semblance of an infrastructure, that has at least a track record and theoretically a capability of getting, he says, getting on the ballot. Broader access to the ballot. As far as I can tell, the People's Party had no access to the ballot.
Or I think maybe some people have said they've got some, but it's not significant like the Green Party.
But we should say there is a logic to this. To what he is doing. Now, I may disagree with, a third party run, depending on what the two party situation looks like going into the election. But there's time to sort of litigate that.
And also, Cornel West was said vote for Biden in 2020 to stop the fascists. So he's pretty clear about that, at least back then.
Yeah. Oh, he was also the same way I think even in 2016.
I think so too.
And even 2012, despite his issues with Barack Obama. I'm not sure what has changed in that instance. And I think, there'll be opportunity to hear that from him. But people should just take a moment and think about the logic associated with what he's doing here. Now, he's not saying he's doing this because the People's Party is a scam or this and that. It may be, but that's not what his justification here is. The point is that he understands that there is intrinsic, essential value to the creation of institutions and the idea of this gives me access to the ballot. So you have people who say, why would Bernie Sanders run as a Democrat? Or why would any of these people run as a Democrat? The reason why you run as a Democrat is the same reason why Cornel West decided after a week on the People's Party ticket, why you run with the Green Party. And that is because there is value regardless of maybe there's an ideological difference. And I think there is a big ideological difference between the People's Party and the Green Party, as far as I can tell.
And maybe they don't have a pristine history of a fair primary sort of procedures.
With the Green Party?
With the Green Party.
I mean, they were just saying Jimmy Dore for president and Super Chad to vote him as the
that's the People's Party.
Oh, sorry. I thought that. Yeah.
But the Green Party, but the point being that if you're going to run for office, it is essential that you have at least some semblance of institutional support and some semblance of a movement and some semblance of ballot access. And so that logic exists outside of whatever the names of the parties are. And so, people should just keep that in mind. It is a perfect example that that Dr. West is giving as to like the practical necessities that are involved in running and why he realized he could not be taken seriously or have achieved anything.
Yes.
Frankly, as a, running on essentially like an email list.
Right.
And just in case you had any wonder as to like what the point of the People's Party is, it is not to promote the ideology of someone like Dr. Cornel West or anyone else. It is to promote themselves. And I give you Exhibit A. This is
their reaction.
This is their reaction.
I was going to bring this up. I'm glad we have this.
Yeah, thank you, David Griscom, for putting this together and tracking this. But they say, breaking, Cornel West has announced a switch to the Green Party, folding to social media and family pressure. God forbid he listens to his family.
I can't help but I mean this seriously. I watched the Nixium documentary, and a lot of this sort of stuff, it's very culty. And it's like, don't make decisions out of fear. And it's like fear that your family is instilling.
Right.
That is very strange.
Oh, it's very strange to talk about family pressure.
Yes.
Like exactly.
Who are they to say anything about Cornel West?
Cornel West's your wife?
Right, exactly.
What the heck?
And that's just such a great connection to make, because what cults try to get you to do is disassociate from anything that ties you to
defooing, I think they call it,
to people or institutions outside of the cult that might make you think a little bit more groundedly. And so it's crazy to lead off with that, but
it's also fascinating. They go on to say the excitement over the phenomenal. Now, when you
kind
to
of
the extent that there was excitement,
they're overcompensating
about Dr. Cornel West running, ask yourself, was it, this is exciting because it's the People's Party, or is it exciting because it's Dr. Cornel West? And
also,
according to the People's Party, it was, of course, the People's Party. The excitement over the phenomenal launch.
The most perfect phone call.
When you have to
that's exactly what that sounds like.
People really over-egg it with their adjectives and adverbs.
I mean, did Glenn Greenwald write this?
The phenomenal launch executed by the People's Party on our invitation to carry him as a candidate.
Carry him.
Yeah, we carried him. Will likely dissipate as a result of the flip-flop.
The most sacred flip-flop.
The 6-year relationship PP had with West led to the invitation to run as our candidate. Like, this is really just...
These are nutcases.
These are nutcases. West had to consider the other political influences of his family. What? After he agreed to run with PP, resulting in a change of mind.
First off, family members.
First off, hire somebody who can write a tweet. How about that to start with? What the hell does that mean? West had to, listen to this sentence. West had to consider the other political influences of his family after he agreed to run with PP, resulting in a change of mind. Like, honestly, like...
He mentioned his family twice. Like, they've got like a real axe to grind with his wife or something like that. Yeah.
But what
doesn't he cut off the rest of his family for the People's Party?
Also, I mean, is it just me? But that sentence is, I mean, I sort of get the idea behind it, but who's writing this?
Laura Morris?
Or maybe she's just
posted by Laura Morris. Or yeah, exactly.
And so there it is. There's the
there's one more too. We should also read.
Yeah,
but here's the tweet exchange here where they quote tweeted.
They quote tweet. Wait, you can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the quote exchange before that they're talking. These two supporters are saying the Green Party is attacking the People's Party, and then this guy talks about Nick Brana, the lead of the People's Party.
This is in a thread about the Vanguard podcast saying, encouraging West to make the switch to the Green Party, and then
Are they related to West? Are they part of his family?
Yeah.
yeah, adoptive kids.
And so that the People's Party says.
Okay, wait. We didn't see that first one.
So go
Read
back
that first
to-
one. Okay.
So the one guy, let's just remove that one, Bradley. Just scroll on to Keith here. So the one guy says, just like without Nick Brana, the biggest anti-war protests in years wouldn't have happened. Which, if we'll have to remind people, it was I
like
can't remember the name
dozens
of
of
it.
people in
Rally Against the
DC.
War Machine, where they talked about trans people the entire time.
Yeah, and it was just a bunch of Russia flags.
And now, if it weren't for Brana showing the initiative to get Cornel West to run, he likely wouldn't even be running for president. Why is the guy I'm told to hate do the most? And then the People's Party quoted that with the man the system doesn't want to see succeed this bad is the man that needs to succeed. They don't attribute that quote, but maybe it's Nick Brand himself said that about himself.
Yeah.
And they're just talking about himself.
They're talking about
Yes.
Nick Brana now. They're not even talking about West. They're using it to talk about Nick.
Well,
Nick Brana was just too powerful for Cornell West.
I mean, yeah.
Nobody knows who
Look,
Nick Brana is. Cornel West was a linguist and a professor way long before anyone even thought about Jimmy Dore or any of this damn crap.
Nick Brana, I think, inflates his credentials on the Bernie campaign as well. But yeah, Nick. I'm glad that Cornel West knows Nick Brana enough to thank specifically the People's Party volunteers and not the People's Party leadership.
Right. And it's good to see that. I mean, I frankly, it makes me have, I may have some issue. And like I say, it's not inconceivable to me that in the context of depending on what the election looks like going into the election, we're 18 months off. I don't know that in a state like New York, in a slam dunk state, to have the opportunity to, say that as a sheer policy matter, I don't know if it was necessarily going to be Cornel West and the Green Party, but to have the opportunity to safely, without threatening the outcome of the election,
Yeah.
to have the opportunity to,
Be good for down ballot.
good for down ballot. It'll be good also, just the opportunity as to say like, okay, I get to allow myself, a freebie. That's not a bad thing in my estimation. I think I've been clear many times before. In 2000, I voted for Nader in New York State. I thought it was a freebie. I think I may have even gone on to somebody had set up a vote swap for Florida. Nader had said going into the election that he would not contest in states that were close because they wanted to build the Green Party ostensibly and didn't want to threaten the election. The rest is history in Florida. He ran there. Other places, there's a lot of other reasons why Florida ended up going to Bush. But nevertheless, I felt a certain amount of personal betrayal. I felt a certain amount of betrayal, both for two things. One, that Nader at the time had said he wasn't going to contest there. And two, the implication was that we're going to build the Green Party. And I will tell you this, and this is a completely objective analysis. The Green Party was much stronger 20 years ago than it is today. And by that, I measure it in terms of local elections. And I don't know if they ever had a congressperson. I don't think so. But they had a couple of mayors at one point. There was some state representatives. I imagine there's still some, but the party itself never fulfilled the promise. We know what the cost was, or at least, what could have been the cost. People can debate about whether those people would have voted for Nader or for Gore there. Gore lost by hundreds of votes. So I don't know. But but the benefit never showed up.
I'm more like I voted for Hillary Clinton in New York. I was in New Jersey at the time. I voted for Biden in New York too. And I chose to do that just because that was the person I thought who was realistic to win, and also in just principle for my own principles, that is what comported with what I wanted to do there. But part of the problem is that I've always had an issue with the Green Party not being as local in my adult life. I'm much more encouraged by what the DSA is doing on a local level, not buoyed by figureheads in national campaigns, and more focused on building up institutional power in places where it can build, as opposed to this kind of flash in the pan stuff focused on the presidency. I think that can push people more towards the one personality, Jill Stein, Cornel West even at the top, as opposed to building lasting change. But I also understand the reason that we should have third-party candidates out there. It's a balance you have to strike.
Right.
Yourself, especially if you're in a swing state.
Ryan in Cali says Gore didn't lose in Florida. No, I agree with that. But
Yeah.
He was not awarded the electoral votes there. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And I will say in 2000, I voted for Biden in New York, because I also felt that particularly there was a lot of reason in the run up to the election to think that just the popular vote in and of itself, even though it wasn't going to implicate the electoral college, would be important in the event that I didn't anticipate January 6th but there was definitely reason to believe that anything that could provide ballast to a Biden win over Trump would have value. And so again, this is there's plenty of time to sort of
Overstate the importance of those decisions.
well, to overstate the importance or understate them. I mean, frankly, we can.
It's hard to know.
18 months out from the general election, and now Cornel West is in the general election.
Yeah,
in a meaningful way.
Right. I think now it's not a time to be anxious about there's too much democracy happening, because I do think there's a
Totally agree.
It's easy to understand, or easy for me to imagine a scenario where it's actually not bad to have Cornel West out there pulling the whole discourse to the left, as opposed to DeSantis versus Trump talking about who can haze trans kids more.
Or who can lock more people out from the border. There was a CBS story that just broke that Biden denied 400,000 migrants a chance to get into the United States under TPS because he was worried it would encourage more migration. So that's the person representing the left party in this country, the person running for the Democratic president, right? That's why we do need an expansion of the discourse. You just still have to be strategic once the general comes around. That's my advice.
Yeah, I don't think, I'm not one of these people who say you have to be naive about it and just let the amount of flavors of toothpaste, it's just good to have more. You need to be a little bit cynical about why certain ones are placed there. The GOP in Minnesota puts money behind pro-pot guys who they sound nice, but they're trying to take out Ilhan.
And another candidate that's running right now, I think you can be cynical about why Bobby Kennedy is hanging out with Roger Stone.
I agree, but we'll have more time to talk about that. In the meantime, though, I think the move, West move makes sense. At least in terms of the logic of his candidacy, and also it reinforces the importance of actually having some semblance of a structure and an institution and an apparatus in which to run, and that logic makes sense regardless of what party you're talking about.